Welcome, yogis. The practice that we're going to do today is designed to support and nurture a strong and healthy back. We'll start our practice by working to build strength in the muscles that help us elongate our spine, the muscles that support particularly low back health. And then we'll end our practice by helping to release some of the muscles around our hips that can actually pull a little bit on the low back when they're tight. And this is a practice that it's ideal to return to again and again. If it's something you can fit into your kind of repertoire of classes once or twice a week, that would be pretty ideal. And I think you'll see over time, your ability to move comfortably through these poses with a flat back will increase over time. That being said, if you have any acute back issues right now, I would suggest either waiting until those have healed or modify so that you don't opt for the most strenuous pose. And then last thing that I'll say before we jump in is that when we're going through these movements, and you'll hear me say this a lot, but I just want to kind of like plant the seed now. We want to make sure that we're going through these movements with a very long spine so that we're thinking about lengthening through the back of the body and the front of the body equally, rather than letting our spine round. Okay. If you have a blanket for your practice, that would be ideal. So you just have that nearby and there'll be a few poses you might want that for. And let's go ahead and we'll actually start in child's pose. So if you want to take your blanket across your mat now, just if you're on a harder surface and that would feel nice for the knees, you can take it across the middle of the mat. And you can take the knees just a little wider than the hips, bring the big toes together. And then go ahead and settle the hips back towards the heels. You can crawl the fingertips forward and start to ease your way down. The head can sink down between the biceps, resting the forehead on the ground. And let's use this first pose just as an opportunity to check in and see what our starting place is as far as the sensation, the tightness, the openness, whatever it is that you feel in your low back. And the space around the hips, the length in the spine. And start to become aware of the sensations that you feel in all of those places. And then slowly begin to deepen your breath. And as you deepen your breath, feel with each inhale this opportunity to lengthen the spine a little bit more. You might even stretch the fingertips a little farther forward, find more length in the side body. And as you exhale, notice that the navel naturally moves back towards the spine so that the belly, the muscles in the abdomen, can engage a little bit more. And let's just take a few more breaths there, inhaling to find length. And exhaling a little engagement of the navel towards the back body. And it's that action that will, as we move through our practice, help support the low back, help keep it safe as we move through these different poses. Okay, take one more breath. And then slowly walk the hands in towards the knees. And draw the spine up tall. Okay. And you'll come actually high up onto the knees so that the shoulders stack up over the hips. And you can just look down and see that the outer thighs are vertical. Okay. Shins parallel to one another. And then as you inhale, stretch the arms out. Reach them up and overhead and feel the front of the body lengthen. Try to lift up out of the belly a little. And as you exhale, you're going to sweep the hands towards the low back so they stack on the sacrum. The belly will find the thighs, the hips to the heels, and turn your head to the right. And as you inhale, with a flat back, lift up. As you come through center, stretch up and lift up out of the belly. See if you can lift up out of the low back at the same time. And then exhale again, arms sweep nice and wide, shoulders back, turn the head to the left, belly to the thighs, hips to the heels. And just continue to move like that. We'll go through that a few more times. Each inhale helps you lift and find length. And each exhale now, start to engage the navel back towards the spine. And feeling that it firms against the low back. We'll go maybe 3 more times. Just letting the head turn fully. Again, each inhale with a flat back, come up. And with each exhale, belly to the back body. Good. Last one. Good. And then go ahead and pause there. So hips are on the heels. You can let the knees come a little wide again. Bring the head through center and stretch the arms forward one more time. And then you'll walk the hands over to the right. And as they come all the way off the mat, let your torso angle a little bit in that direction. Bring the hands so that they're shoulder width distance, and then let your head drop down between the biceps. And feel a lengthening out of the left side of the low back. And just take another breath here. And then walk the hands through center. Curl the fingertips forward again. And then over to that second side. Again, hands shoulder width distance. Head sinks down between the biceps. And lengthen out of the right side of the low back. See if you can breathe a little deeper, like you're sending the breath all along the right side body. And then slowly back through center. Stretch the arms forward. Inhale, lift yourself up to all fours. Bring the knees through center. Curl the toes under and stretch back to your first down dog. And you can pedal out the legs. You can move a little bit if you'd like, whatever you need to do to kind of ease into that shape, to start to lengthen along the backs of the legs. And then let's look forward at the hands, bend the knees, and just slowly start to walk the feet to the top of the mat. You can leave your blanket on the middle of the mat if it's still there. And we'll walk into a forward fold and just take a moment to release the low back so you're letting your head drop, your arms drop. And then as you inhale, slide the hands up the legs. Come halfway up, and if you bend the knees a little bit, it'll let you extend the chest a little bit farther forward and support the low back a little bit more. And then go ahead and relax into your forward fold. Belly to the thighs, drop the head, drop the arms again. Just soften. And inhale, rise halfway up. Again, equal length through the back of the body. So think about lengthening the back of the spine and the front of the spine equally. And then last time into a forward fold. And this time we'll bend the knees to come up. So bend the knees a lot, sink your hips low, drop into your chair, and then lift the chest, lift the arms. Rise up to stand. And you can let the arms gently float to the sides, exhaling. And we'll move through dynamic chair. In this pose, it's easy to get caught up in what's happening in the thighs and the energy and the warmth that's kind of building there. But I want you to try to keep in mind that this is about strengthening your low back. And it just kind of helps in the effort a little bit if you can keep that mindset. So feet hip width distance apart. We'll inhale and stretch the arms up. And again, reach up. And as you exhale, the first half of your exhale, you're sinking your hips down. And then the second half, the belly drapes over chair legs. The head drops and the arms drop. As you inhale, first half of the inhale, you'll lift the chest, lift the arms, and then press all the way up to straight legs. And we'll do that a couple more times. Exhaling, first bend the knees, sink your hips, and then fold over chair legs. Inhale, keep the legs as they are initially. Lift the chest, lift the arms, and press to the heels to rise up. Okay, 3 more times. And as you start to move here, a little bit more fluidly, see if you can bring the breath now into equal length. And the breath supporting the movement of the body. As you exhale, hips sink, belly over the thighs. Feel the navel squeeze to the back body. Keep a little engagement in the belly as you lift back up. One more time. Good. And then you'll rise all the way up to stand. And for a moment, go ahead and let the arms float down by the sides. And let's pause. Take a breath. Relax the shoulders. Okay, and then we're going to come into chair one more time. And this time, if you choose, if it feels better for the shoulders, the hands can be in front of the heart. And that's just a perfectly wonderful modification if your shoulders get a little tight with the arms overhead. So let's be really deliberate here. Let's take the hip crease back. As you bend the knees, let the weight sink into the heels. Lift the chest and then draw the tailbone down slightly. And then either hands to the heart, palm against palm, or if you can keep that engagement of the spine lengthening, you can stretch the arms up. If you do that and you feel the low back and overarching, those hands come back to the heart. Okay, and then we're going to take a few breaths here. With each inhale, see if you can lift the chest up without letting the hips rise. And as you exhale, squeeze the belly towards the back body and feel that muscular engagement support your low back. Let's take just 2 more breaths. Each inhale, it fills the lungs and you might feel the spine lengthen. As you exhale, navel squeezes gently towards the back body. Tailbone descends down. Last breath. And then release into your forward fold. Little bend in the knees to get you there. And inhale, rise halfway up. And as you exhale again, forward fold. Let's go ahead and plant the fingertips on the ground. If you have blocks and that feels better, you can use blocks. And we'll step the left foot to the back of the mat. Go ahead and bring your left knee down. And then hands on top of your right thigh to draw your torso upright. And we're going to start with the hips more or less directly above the left knee. So if you need to adjust the spacing between your right foot and left knee, you can. And right leg will start at about 90 degrees. It's fine if the heel is slightly forward. Okay. And then lift your low belly up, guide your tail down. Feel the belly firm a little towards the back body. Place your right hand on your right thigh. And then moving with your breath. As you inhale, let your pelvis sink forward and down as the left arm sweeps up. And you can even take the arm back slightly if that's comfortable. And as you exhale back out of the pose, so you're pulling the hips back. Your left arm presses to the side, and right there you reinforce the lift of the belly and the navel squeeze into the back body. A couple more times. As you inhale, sink forward, lift the left arm, lean back slightly. And as you exhale, tail down, low belly up, belly back. Let's do that twice more. And as much as you can, just smooth and even breath. So even inhale to exhale for our practice today. Okay, and then we're going to sink into the pose one more time. So hips forward, low belly continues to lift. You can either hold here with one arm up, or you can kind of backstroke your left arm back, take your right hand back, interlace the fingers, and as you straighten the arms, you're extending your hands towards that back heel. Keep pressing firmly into your front foot, lift the low belly, and sink your hips forward and down. Okay, and you're letting yourself move into just a little bit of a back bend. But keep that engagement of the tailbone drawing down, the low belly lifting up. And think about bringing buoyancy, like a feeling of lightness, of lift in the chest, so that you're drawing yourself up out of the low back. Just one more deep breath, fill your lungs. And then as you exhale, pull the hips back slightly. You come back over that left knee. Release the hands, plant the left hand inside the right foot, and just go ahead and turn a little bit to the right. So twisting right shoulder over left. You can turn the gaze maybe towards the wall behind you, at the foot of the mat, I mean. And then you can either keep the arm as it is, or if it feels good, the right fingertips can extend up. But that's really just as a reminder to open up the chest. One more breath. Exhale here, squeeze the belly back, turn a little bit more. And then release the hands down and step the back foot forward into a forward fold. And go ahead and pause for a moment. Bring your breath back to the forefront of your practice. And then we'll come to that second side. So plant your fingertips, and this time we'll step the right foot back. You'll bring the right knee down. Go ahead and draw the hands up onto that left thigh and lean back. And I didn't say this on the first side, but I usually have my back toes untucked, but if it's more comfortable and you feel more stable with them tucked under, that's also fine. It's more important that you're finding something that gives you like a solid foundation. Lift the low belly up, draw the tail down. And you know that you found that action when the stretch, usually in front of the right hip in this case, increases a little bit. So you found your psoas, your hip flexor muscle. Okay. We'll keep the left hand on the left thigh, gaze forward, and as you inhale, hips sink forward and down. Right arm sweeps up and back. And as you exhale back out of the pose, lift the low belly, draw the tail under. Couple more times on your breath. Each inhale, you lift, you fill your lungs. And each exhale gently squeezes navel towards the back body. Let's go twice more. A smooth and fluid movement. Okay. And then one more time, we'll come into that pose. So keep the low belly lifted, guide the tail down, but then sink the pelvis forward and down. And then you can take the right arm back, take the left arm back. Maybe interlacing fingers, straighten the arms. And on this side, if it's comfortable, you can start to squeeze the heels of the palms together. Lift your chest. Hips can continue to move forward and down. And now let your breath bring that feeling of buoyancy. So in each inhale, you feel it's like the chest and the rib cage are a little bit lighter and lifting up out of your low back. And each exhale, you guide your navel towards your back body to maintain that lift and find a little bit more strength. One more breath. And then very gently pull your hips back. Release the hands, bring the right hand down, and now turn to your left. So twisting, like you're trying to turn your navel so that it's pointing towards the inside of your left thigh. Your left hand can stay on the hip, as it's really more about the twist. If it feels good, maybe reach the left fingertips to the sky. And just one or two more breaths there. And then go ahead and gently release. Okay, this time as the hands come down, you can come through all fours and then press into downward facing dog. Okay, and in this down dog, if you need a little bit of movement to kind of ease in, you're welcome to. But then let the heels start to descend towards the ground. To keep the low back, or the entire back straight, maybe bend the knees a little bit. Hug your outer arms together. And now kind of imagine like the back is in traction a little bit. So the hips, the pelvis is being pulled diagonally towards the wall behind you. And the crown of the head is sinking towards the ground. So the space in between is growing longer. The space between each vertebrae is increasing. Good. And then take a slow inhale, and as you lift your right leg, lift from the inner thigh and lift with control till it reaches its highest point. And then use the strength of the core to start to shift forward into plank. We'll draw the knee into the chest the first time. Shoulders will come over the wrists, and try to lift a little bit more through the belly. If you look forward, the hips are going to drop down. So instead, look down at the mat. And then inhale, sweep your right leg back up. Again, lifting from the inner thigh, lift it to its highest point. And as you exhale one more time, let's draw that knee into the chest. Lift through the belly. Press the ground away, look down. And then inhale, sweep the leg back up. And this time as you exhale, a little faster so you can swing the right foot forward between the hands. If you still have that blanket in the center of the mat, you can move it off to the side for now. And then we'll step our back foot in just slightly. So the feet are about 3.5 feet apart. Your back heel is descending towards the ground. With a bent knee, go ahead and rise up. And we're going to find our spacing like we're coming into pyramid pose. So the way that you know that you're in your right stance is that when you take your hands on your hips, the 2 hip points can square to the front of the room. So what'll tend to happen if that left foot is too far back is the left hip will lag back a little. So you just shorten your stance a bit. And you can also widen your stance for a more solid base. Okay, hands on your hips, square your hips, press into your back heel. And then the right hand is going to come onto the low back. And palm can face the back wall. Go ahead and inhale and lift the left arm up. Lift up out of the left side of the waist, left side of the pelvis. Take a big inhale. And as you exhale, with a flat back, draw the chin in slightly, reach forward, and go ahead and come all the way down. And if that means you need to bend the right knee a little bit, you can. As you inhale, either keeping the right leg straight, or you can bend the right knee for a little bit more support. Lift all the way back up to stand. We'll do that a couple more times. Exhaling, pull your right hip back, spine long, reach forward, and forward fold. And then inhale, reestablish length. Extend through the chest, and rise up. Okay, let's go 3 more times. So just keeping in mind you are building strength in your body, so there is effort here. Inhale, grow a little bit longer, reach a little bit farther forward, rise up. And now exhale a little slower. Navel squeezes towards the back body. Keep that little engagement in the belly. Last time, rise up, reach, extend, lift through the spine. And then exhale, slow, slow, slow into your forward fold. And we'll pause here. So if the hand doesn't comfortably find the ground, bring it onto a block. It's bringing the ground a little bit closer to you. Pull your right hip back so you feel it's like you're lengthening the outside of the right leg. And you can, if you prefer to have that bend in the front knee, you're welcome to. Or you can start to straighten it so you feel a little stretch in the back of the right thigh as well. And then even here, even in your fold, with each inhale, can you lengthen your spine more? And as you exhale, squeeze the belly gently back. Maybe finding just the tiniest bit more space to sink and to fold into that front leg. And then go ahead and bend your right knee, release the hands down, and we'll press back to downward facing dog. And then inhale, slowly lifts the left leg up. Again, with control. As you exhale, shift forward to plank. Draw the left knee into the chest. Lift the belly, dome the upper back. And inhale again, extend back. Exhale to shift forward. Knee into the chest, lift. Gaze straight down. Inhale one more time. Sweep the leg high, lift it with control. And as you exhale, a little faster, so just a little momentum to get that left foot forward. Step your back foot in. You can adjust your stance here since you kind of know your spacing for this side. And then we'll come up with a bent left knee. Go ahead and straighten it when you come all the way up. Okay, widen your stance, shorten your stance as you need to be able to square your hips. Press down into your back heel, left hand onto the low back, and inhale, slowly lift the right arm up. Okay, pause here as you exhale. Find that action of the navel towards the back body. Inhale, lengthen. And as you exhale, slow and steady, come into your fold, reaching forward to come down. As you inhale again, if you choose to, you bend that left knee as much as you need to feel supported in the low back to rise up. And exhale again with a flat back. Extend forward to come down. Okay, 3 more times. And as you move, see if you can actually be guided by your breath. So as the movement gets slower for these last 2, the breath is a little bit slower. Okay, one more time. Find more length when you lift. And exhale, really slow into that fold. Belly draws back. And we'll go ahead and pause. Right fingertips on the ground or on your block. Left leg is straight to the degree that feels good for you. Pull your left hip crease back. And then imagine like the pelvis is being pulled back. And each inhale, you're lengthening the chest forward. You're lengthening the spine forward and down. And then you can bend the left knee, plant the hands, and step back to downward facing dog. Okay, let's roll forward to plank. And slowly lower down with the flat back to come all the way onto your belly. Okay. And we're going to move through a version of half Shalambhasana, but you're going to keep your hands on the ground, but without any weight in them. So they're just kind of there as like, it's like a placer. Okay, point the toes back, roll the shoulders back, but then rest the forehead on the ground. Okay. And then with E-RYT, so even length inhale to exhale. On your inhale, lift the right leg up, lift the head up, and lift as much of the chest and ribs up off the ground as you can. And as you exhale, slowly release everything back down. And let's try that for a count of 4. So as you inhale, head and chest and left leg, lift. Squeeze that inner left thigh up. And as you exhale, count of 4 to come down. Again, inhaling head, chest, and right leg. And exhale, and control the descent. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time on each side, just alternating legs for 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay in that same rhythm. Last one on the last side. Good. And then inhale, 4 counts, lift both legs up. Lift the head up, lift the chest up. Try to squeeze the legs towards one another and pause. As you inhale, see if you can lift just a little bit more. Legs up, head up, chest up, shoulders back. Hold here for your exhale. One more breath. And go ahead and release. Release the heels out to the sides. You can Stack the hands for a moment. Just make a little pillow to rest your head on and pause. Let your body relax. And turn your head on the other side. Okay. And then you can bring your head through center. See that the toes point straight back again. And you're going to slide the hands down so that they're by the upper chest, and just check in with the placement of them. So we actually want to pull them back a little bit, so fingertips are like a little behind the shoulders. Roll the shoulders back, and we're going to lift now into cobra. So now you are going to use a little arm energy, but you're only going to lift as high as you can without feeling like a pinching or compression in the low back. Sensation is fine there. There's going to be a little bit of that as we come into a back bend. But we're going to see if we can find kind of our version of cobra where we are still being good to our back without adding additional tension. So roll your shoulders back. Press your hands down. Press the tops of the feet down. And then really slowly, inhale. Strength of the back starts to lift, and then you press into the hands. Keep rolling the shoulders back. And pause in what feels like your version. If you come up too high, you will start to feel like something sharp, a little bit more intense in the low back. So if you find that, come down just a little bit. Gaze straight ahead. Squeeze your elbows in, roll the shoulders back and down. Take one more breath. And then very gently release. And come all the way down. Again, stack the hands one on top of the other. Before you move, before you start to release the low back, sometimes we have the habit of just dropping straight into that. I want you to take a moment and just notice how your low back feels. So again, sensation is fine coming out of the pose, but if you feel like a soreness or a sharpness, that is your body's way of saying that that wasn't your version of the pose. So as important as it is to strengthen our low back, it's also to know the movements that our body is happy in, content in, to know our versions of those poses. And then we'll just do a really gentle release here in case there was any extra tension. And I'm going to have you bend your right knee out to the side so that it's kind of bent at about 90 degrees. And you can decide how far forward to pull it. It might kind of stay back a little bit. You might pull it a little bit farther forward, but we'll rest the head at center. And then try to relax like the right hip crease down. The outside of the right hip, if there's any gripping there, see if you can soften that. And let that softness spread across your low back. It's particularly on the right side here. And give yourself another 2 breaths. And then you can extend that leg back. Before you come to the other side, just feel the area around the right hip and the right low back and the left. Just noticing any difference between the two. And then you can bend the left knee out to the side. Again, find that placement that feels good. So decide how far forward you're pulling the knee, and it doesn't have to be the same as it was on the first side. And then you're relaxing all around the left hip joint. So in the hip crease, the outside of the hip, where it connects to the low back. And then go ahead and slowly release, extend that leg back. If you want to wiggle the hips a little bit, you can. And then we'll bring the hands down on either side of the chest and go ahead and press up to all fours. Let's stretch back to downward facing dog. And then you can drop down onto your knees. We're going to come onto our seat with the legs extended forward. And we're not quite yet coming into a forward fold, so sometimes we have like the habit of we automatically grab a blanket to sit on, and I'm gonna have you leave that off to the side for now, because we're actually gonna work just a little bit to strengthen our belly and our core. So legs are gonna come together, heels together. And you're gonna inhale and lift your arms up. And when you do that, see if you can lift. Again, it's a feeling of buoyancy where the rib cage is lifting up away from the waist. And then as you exhale, you're gonna let the low back round a little bit so that you're kind of dragging the heels in, extending the arms forward, and then lift the heels up off the ground so they hover maybe 6 inches above the ground. Look at the toes. Eyes and toes at about the same height. The more you lower your back down, the more challenging it'll become. And then inhale, go ahead and bring the heels down and rise up, lift up. And we'll do that again as you exhale. Gently roll back, feel the belly squeeze back, lift your heels, gaze forward. See if you can breathe here. You may notice that little shaking on the exhale. It's just energy, it's muscle engagement. Take a deep breath in, bring the heels down, lift up. Okay, one more time. If it is challenging, try to welcome the challenge. You might even let the corners of the mouth turn up a little bit. It helps. It like tricks the body into believing it's enjoying something that you might not be. Good. And then take a deep breath in, lift up. Pause here for an extra breath. Stretch up out of the front of the body. So lift out of the belly and the low back. And this time we are going to forward fold just briefly. So find a little bit of softness. And since we've done so much work to flatten out the back and to strengthen it, let's keep that. So maybe lean back a little bit. Hands can hold on to the feet. They can hold on to the ankles. You're using that as leverage to pull the chest forward so that we lengthen the front of the body. And then keep that length as you hinge from the hips, come into your fold. Okay. And then go ahead and slowly walk the hands back in, coming upright. All right. So we're going to come into, it's called square pose. I'm turning around. You probably don't need to. It's just I want you to be able to see it from this side. You're going to draw the right leg forward so that you are sitting a little on like the outside of the right hip. And your right shin is more or less parallel to the top edge of the mat. If you need to keep it bent a little bit because that's better for the knee, that's fine. And then more or less same thing with the left leg, 90 degrees. So that in this case, the left shin is parallel to the length of your mat. Okay, so as you find that, if it's a little uncomfortable on the right hip, or you just feel like you need a little bit more lift, you're collapsing off to that side, you can take your blanket underneath the right hip. Okay, so right shin parallel to the top edge of the mat. And then you can bring the hands down initially on either side of the right leg, and there's a couple options here. So we're going to move dynamically first before we fold. And you can keep the hands on the ground. You can draw them a little bit farther forward if you need to. Or to make it a little bit more challenging, the hands can come maybe palm against, or palms over the heart, or palms over the belly. And then try to turn so that your shoulders square. Inhale here, lift. And as you exhale, slowly start to lean forward. Keep a flat back. And go really slowly into that exhale so you have plenty of time to lean forward. You'll feel a little stretch in the right hip. And then inhale, rise back up. Do that twice more. Exhaling, try to let the two sides of the rib cage come down evenly. Maybe leaning a little bit more. Inhale, keep your strength, keep the lift in the chest, rise up. One more time. Belly squeezes back. Let that support you, let that give you strength. And then inhale back up. Good. And then exhale, this time the hands can come down and you'll let the maybe forearms drop either onto the ground or on a block. Let the head drop. And just take a moment to actually enjoy the little stretch and space created in the right hip. And the muscles that cross all across the right hip joint. And then go ahead and walk the hands back in. Lift yourself up. And we'll just switch sides. So you can take the hands behind you, draw the knees up through center, and then let them drop off to the other side of the mat. If you need to reposition in any way, let's take a moment to adjust. So left shin is now parallel to that short edge of the mat. Right shin is parallel to the long edge. Okay, turn towards your left leg. Hands can either, again, be down or maybe hands over the belly. It's also nice that way to feel the engagement in the core. Inhale here. And as you exhale, lean forward only as far as you can with control. Inhale to rise back up. And exhale again. Gently lean. Inhaling back up. One more time. Be letting yourself move a little bit farther. And inhale. Okay, bring the hands down if they're not already, and this time slowly ease into that hip stretch as you fold forward. Drop the right side of the ribs down. Now let the things that need to soften here be soft. A lot of our practice is done in movement and with the purpose of strength, and now we're going to let go of that a little bit. So bring awareness into this process of relaxing any gripping. And then slowly lift the hands, or lift yourself back up, walking the hands in. And come back through center. And now we'll roll down onto our backs. So you can move your props off to the side. And you can just come straight down. You can let yourself kind of roll down one vertebrae at a time. Use the hands for a little support behind the legs. And draw the knees into the chest when you come down. Okay. And then let's go ahead and place the soles of the feet on the ground. You'll cross your right ankle at the left knee. And just start by pressing the inner right thigh forward. So the right foot is flexed, and you're just creating a little space in front of the right hip. And try to keep, some intention of that inner thigh rolling forward, even as you start to draw the left thigh in towards the chest. And the hands can interlace behind the left thigh or just on the very top of the shin. You might use the right elbow to press inner right thigh forward. Take a couple of slow breaths with the upper back relaxed downward. And then release the sole of the left foot back to the ground, but keep the right ankle crossed at the left knee. And then you're just going to let the legs stay in the same position, so it's that same structure, but you're letting the legs drop off to the left so that the sole of the right foot finds the ground and the right knee is still pointed up. And if it feels better, you can kind of use the left fingertips to prop that right knee up. And then go ahead and extend the right arm out, turn your head to the right. Feel a little bit more weight come into the sole of that right foot as you drop the weight of the legs. And let's take another slow breath or two here. And then very slowly back up. Okay. You can uncross the legs. Pause between sides. So check in and notice how the right hip feels versus the left. There might be different sensation. One might feel a little bit more spacious or open or light. You're not trying to create those things, so don't let my words dictate how you feel. See if you can feel for yourself. And then we'll come to the second side. So left ankle can cross above the right knee. Press the left thigh forward. And then try to keep that intention as you start to draw the right thigh in towards the chest. Interlacing where it feels comfortable, where you can keep like a little bit of softness in the arms so they're not completely extended or completely engaged. And then slowly release the sole of the right foot to the ground. And then you're just going to take the legs and tilt them off to the right. So the sole of the left foot finds the ground. The right hand can press that inner left thigh forward. Left arm extends out. And just let your head maybe roll to the left. Last breath here. And then go ahead and slowly start to release. Uncross the legs, pause. And then our last pose we're going to come into is called Tail of the Cat. And it's not that you need to know the name, just sometimes it actually helps the pose to make a little bit more sense. So it's the long version of it is cat pulling its own tail. So to come into this pose, you're taking your right ankle and bringing it behind your left heel. So that as you do that, the right knee, right thigh is dropping down towards the ground. And you might reach down with the left hand and just find the inside of your right foot. And if you don't quite find it, you can scoot the foot a little farther to the left side of the mat. And then imagine that there's just like a very, very gentle weight. It's like the weight of your blanket is resting on the right knee. Just enough to feel like the right leg is a little bit more grounded. And try to keep that feeling of the right leg being grounded as you start to draw the left knee in towards the chest. The right hand can hold on to the top of the left shin. And for every little bit that you draw the left thigh in, let the right thigh sink down again. Just resting right at your gentle edge. And then go ahead and slowly release. The sole of the left foot come down. And the sole of the right foot back. Again, feel the two sides. And then left ankle behind the right heel. The left knee drop down, maybe reach down for the inside of that foot. And before you draw the right knee in, find that feeling of the left knee just a little bit more weighted. You're not forcing it down, but you're relaxing so that it's like the leg finds gravity instead of resists it. Okay, keep that and then draw the right thigh in towards the chest, holding onto it with the left hand. And as you guide the right thigh in, you might notice a gripping in front of the left hip, or you might notice the left knee no longer wanting to sink. So pause. Release into gravity again. And for each little bit, you draw the right knee in, you let the left knee drop down. And then very gently release. Bring the soles of both feet onto the ground. Bring your hips to center. And then as the thighs come in towards the chest, take your hands and just place them on top of the shins. We're just going to move through Apanasana, and it's a very gentle pose, just a nice way to reset the low back. So as you inhale, you're going to let the knees move away from you. The hands will stay on the knees or on the shins, but the arms will start to straighten. And as you exhale, start to squeeze the knees in towards the belly, like that presses the breath out. As you inhale and the belly fills, the legs move forward. And as you exhale again, squeeze the knees in, press your breath out. And just 2 or 3 more times. And this is also, incidentally, a really good way to start your day. So before you've even gotten out of bed, you just do this a couple times, just to reset whatever tension or whatever unevenness might have been created while sleeping. And then you'll release the soles of the feet to the ground. And if you have a blanket or a bolster, I'm going to encourage that I'm going to roll up your blanket so that when you extend your legs out for Savasana, the backs of the knees, it's like right where the hamstrings meet the backs of the knees, are supported. And if you have a bolster, then that'll give you just even a little bit more support. It can just feel nice for the low back here. Any adjustment that you need to get comfortable. Legs stretch out long, arms stretch out any distance away from your side body that feels good. Let the muscles in the face relax. So any worry, any concern, any gripping is relaxed, is released. And draw your awareness down past the throat and the chest, just softening, releasing as you go. And the ribs and the belly. And down towards the pelvis and the hips. Each thigh relaxed. Knees and calves. All the way down to the soles of the feet. And as you settle a little bit more deeply into that state of this perfect rest, perfect relaxation, feel your awareness in every part of you. So you are aware of every single part of you, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, the whole front body, whole back body. Hold your entire being in your awareness. And just for another moment, let yourself rest there. And then when we start to move to rejoin our day, we're going to do so with equal awareness. So gradually let your breath deepen. When that energizes you enough to overcome the inertia, the stillness in the body, you can wiggle the fingers and the toes. Slowly draw the legs closer together, and then bend one knee and then the other into the chest. And moving mindfully, you can roll completely onto your right side and pause. Bring the left hand down onto the ground in front of your face and press into your left hand to slowly come up. And just find a comfortable seated position. If you want to adjust and sit up on a prop, you're welcome to. Especially if that helps you get a little bit more lift out of the low back. And then let's take another moment here. Just eyes closed, awareness settled into your body. To notice what it feels like to move and to sit and to breathe from a place of awareness. And just another moment to rest in that sensation. It's like you're creating a little memory of it, so that your mind keeps that impression even when you move off of your mat. And then slowly gather the hands together in front of the heart, bow your forehead into your fingertips, and seal in the intention of your practice to bring this greater health into your body. That feeling of strength and wholeness and the connectivity of each part of us working together to support our health, to support our vibrancy. Have the intention to move from awareness so that you keep that strength, that health as you head back out into the world. Namaste. All right, yogis, thank you so much for joining today. If you enjoyed this practice, or if you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave a comment for me, and I'll be sure to read them and respond to all the ones that I'm able to. So I'd love to hear from you. And I will see you next time for our next practice. Be well.